Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Post collected by Choice Evidence 1983, and their tagline is, "It dawned on me that he was a wizard." The original OP is u/Common Grounder posted to r/Am I the Asshole on March 17, 2025. Am I the asshole for embarrassing my husband's coworker for embarrassing me and my husband? A few months ago, after many years of trying to conceive, my husband, 32 male, and I, 33 female, had a gorgeous, healthy baby boy. My husband and I are black, which is pertinent to the story. We were over the moon, and family, friends, and coworkers had also been excited for us. Right after I delivered, my husband emailed a birth announcement with a photo of our son to everyone in his office. Fast forward a couple of weeks, and my husband came home fuming after his first day back at work. One of his coworkers informed him that another guy in the office, a new young employee my husband barely knew, had been telling everyone willing to listen that my husband couldn't be our son's father because that baby is too light to be his and its hair is too long and straight. That's a white man's baby, or an Asian's. This guy proceeded to tell everyone what a sucker my husband was, and that his excitement over finally becoming a dad was blinding him to the reality that he had been cheated on and his wife impregnated by another man. Side note, for anyone who's still unaware in 2025, black babies in general are fairly pale as newborns, and their skin will darken over the first few weeks. Hair changes to a curlier pattern are usually gradual as well. Our son was no exception, and is now my hub's mini-me. My husband said he had immediately confronted and questioned the guy, who completely denied saying anything inappropriate and claimed he only said, as a joke, the baby was too cute to be my husband's. But others in the office confirmed the first coworker's account. Not only that, the guy had tried to parlay his superior perception skills into some weird form of workplace clout. Fortunately, the guy got moved to a different shift that same week, so my husband didn't have to see him again. That is, until a company event this past weekend. Families were invited, and we took our son. And who should come and insert himself into our group as we were chatting with the boss? But Brown Noser McMouth. He interrupted our conversation and introduced himself to the boss, shaking his hand. When I realized who he was, my anger came flooding back, and I said, "I don't believe we've met, but aren't you the guy who went around telling everyone in the office I must have cheated on my husband with a whiter Asian man, and this couldn't be his son?" The guy went red and silent. Boss said to him, "See me in my office first thing Monday," and walked away. I think someone's fired. My husband said I went too far because it was already over and done with. I said it wasn't done for me until I had my say. And I was the one being defamed, not him. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole has no consensus bot, but OP was not the asshole. Relevant/top comments. Commenter 1. Not the asshole, you're not an asshole. But that doesn't mean this was the best thing to say at a work event. OP responds. It wasn't the best time, you're right, but I had been feeling eyes on me up until that point and convinced myself I'd been unfairly gossiped and speculated about by everyone around me. Commenter 1 responds, and I can't fault you at all, but I do think there is a slight risk of this negatively impacting your husband and his job, but he definitely got what he deserved. OP responds, I doubt it. My husband was one of the first people hired when they opened this US facility, and he's consistently gotten recognition and raises for developing new processes. Commenter 2. Not the asshole. You were slandered in a way that could have negatively impacted your marriage, and you had no real recourse aside from a lawsuit to publicly defend yourself against the public accusation made against you. An opportunity presented itself in this man's continued pompousness. You took it. You made it clear. With your baby now looking just like your husband that 1, he was obviously wrong, and 2, you were hurt by the accusation. Behavior has consequences. Commenter 3. The racist part of his slander is also really offensive. The very kindest interpretation is that he's ignorant and happy to broadcast his ignorance to everyone around him. But I expect the kindest interpretation is being way too generous with this guy. I hope he gets his ass handed to him by the boss. Commenter 4. You prevented further harassment of other people at the office. Unlikely the dude only targeted you and your hubby. Well done. Update, March 18th, 2025, the next day. The response to my post was overwhelming yesterday, and I was only able to read a few replies, enough to surmise that I was not the asshole in this scenario. A big thanks to all who took the time to weigh in. As for the fallout, Brown Noser McMouth didn't get fired yesterday. They didn't have to fire him because he didn't show up for work, At some point between Saturday afternoon and Monday morning, he cleared out his cubicle and left his badge and company phone on the desk. I'm trying not to feel guilty by telling myself he learned a valuable life lesson and will probably be a new and improved version of himself wherever he lands. Relevant/top comments. Commenter 1. How old did the guy appear to be? Lofi responds, 23 or 24, just out of college. Commenter 2. No need to feel guilty, this is all due to his piss-poor behavior. I'm so happy your husband no longer has to have any type of interaction with this man. Commenter 3. It sounds like you didn't even have to do much for karma to catch up with him. His behavior was completely unprofessional and it's his own fault for acting like that. Don't feel guilty, it sounds like he got exactly what he deserved. Hopefully, he'll learn and grow from this, but that's on him now. Commenter 4. He learned that actions have consequences. Probably better he quit than get fired anyway. Regardless, you have nothing to feel guilty for. Hope you and your bubba are doing well. X. If you're just starting at a job and wanting to get yourself into the social circles or maybe get yourself some clout, one of the worst ways to go about that is by spreading a rumor about your coworker's newborn child. That's a quick ticket to HR and getting fired or reprimanded heavily. I certainly don't blame the wife for even calling him out either, because yeah, there is exactly what you said, a lot of just negative emotions attached to the fact that your husband's coworker is spreading rumors that you slept with someone else and, you know, the child that the two of you were actively trying to conceive for a while isn't even your husband's, it's someone else. So yeah, definitely reasonable there's a lot of emotions behind it, and just because, yeah, it was settled in the office and your husband doesn't have to deal with it anymore, doesn't mean that you were able to say your piece either. And I can understand definitely feeling a lot of eyes on you when you're at a workplace environment and knowing that everyone in that office has heard the rumor from that joker that you slept with someone else. So yeah, I can certainly understand the temptation and desire to just simply put him in his place and just make a complete fool out of him. Entirely deserved and entirely understood. Certainly not the asshole. And the thing is, if that guy did not get called on his shit sooner, or in this moment, he very much could have learned the behavior of, oh, it's entirely acceptable for me to make up shit about my coworkers for social clout and to get in with the in crowd. And who knows what kind of bullshit he would make up next, because if he's starting with your wife slept with someone else and your child's not yours as his entry point for workplace gossip, where's he going next? So yeah, no, it's a good thing he was shut down in his tracks. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, Satan is not a pogo stick. Originally posted by Wallery Mice on r/relationships February 21st, 2016. Me, 25 female, a med student, with my non-medical boyfriend, 26 male, who won't stop asking questions. Boyfriend was one of those who wanted to go to med school till he took a few weed-out pre-med classes. Now he's in a non-science field and constantly asks me incessant questions. He'll be watching TV, see one character has some disorder, ask what causes the disorder, ask about the drugs that treat it, ask about the mechanisms for the drugs, ask why the show isn't giving those drugs, and how the drugs that show is giving actually work, and why that's wrong, and what would happen in real life if we did that, and on and on and on. I feel like I'm constantly being pimped. Pimping is when a superior, resident, fellow, attending, who's evaluating you, asks you medical questions. It's one of the ways clinical medicine has been taught/tested for ages, and can at times be extremely stressful. Boyfriend will also come to me with off-the-wall claims, like, my coworker told me that zinc prevents all colds and 8 different types of cancer. How come you doctors don't have everyone on zinc? And he won't leave me alone until I look into zinc and give him some reason that he finds satisfactory. The baseline assumption is always that his non-medical coworker is correct, and I have to defend why all of us doctors are/aren't doing XYZ. I've explained that this is not how I want to spend my little time off from the hospital. When I have to look something up to shut him up, he tells me I'm lucky to be in med school, and I should be happy that I'm learning things when I look them up to answer him. I feel small. I don't usually feel small, and I can't figure out where exactly the problem is here. I know I'm lucky to be in med school. I also feel super frustrated and like I'm being pimped in my own home. Am I just being stupidly defensive? Should I just know more things than I do? Does anyone have a good method for dealing with this shit? Too long didn't read, med student. I answer questions all day long at work. Boyfriend won't quit with the more incessant questions at home. Also demands answers to Dr. Oz-esque claims. This pisses me off. Boyfriend reasons it shouldn't. I'm frustrated and confused. Am I just too defensive and/or not enough of an intellectual? Relevant comments. Purple Zart. Why can't he look up the answers to his own questions? Opie responds, if I tell him I don't know, the response is, you're in med school, shouldn't you know this? Shouldn't you want to know this? And I have yet to come up with a satisfactory reason for why I don't or don't want to know it, so it ends up being faster just to look it up than to argue. Dragon Hatch comments, I had a dynamic like this with an ex. I would sometimes tell him interesting facts or explain something to him in my field, bio, and he just couldn't simply let me be right. He would almost always contradict me like, oh, I don't really think so because of X, Y, or Z, X being an old wives' tale and Y being his own shitty mansplaining theory. If I tried to correct him, he wouldn't believe me unless I pulled a citation out of my butt. He could dismiss my opinion in my field out of hand, but for me to dismiss his, I needed peer review. Exhausting, and no matter how many times I was proven right, it didn't make him respect my expertise any more the next time I thought to share it. After watching him interact with some of my same level coworkers, I saw that he would be interested, not politely, and even genuinely believe them, and parrot their opinions. I put 2 and 2 together and realized it was sexism. After we broke up, I saw him doing more overtly sexist things regarding his mother and sister that I wouldn't have put up with. He knew to hide that side of himself in modern society, though he keeps asking for it. Your boyfriend doesn't respect your opinion. Maybe it's sexism, or maybe it's because he knew you before you became an expert. He doesn't accept that. Even though he was weeded out of your program, you could possibly be smarter than him. Obi responding and quoting part of the previous comment, oh my gosh, all of this. You put in words that I was having trouble verbalizing. It's this assumption that he can just say random shit and my arguments all require proper backing from NEJM or The Lancet. Though he keeps asking for it, your boyfriend doesn't respect your opinion. Another quote, thank you for sharing. I've been so confused, but this feels really spot on, and I'm sorry you had to deal with this dynamic. Opie responding to the question, what does the boyfriend do for a living? Opie responds, LOL, he's a paralegal and applying to law school. KittyCat456 comments, give him a pop quiz on obscure laws in your state. Opie responds to when being told the boyfriend will gaslight her. Be prepared for gaslighting when you confront him. Speaking from experience, I would rather be mugged/physically assaulted by a stranger than gaslighted by someone I love, which I really should keep in mind when I date going forward. Update, February 22nd, 2016. The next day. Holy jeepers, that escalated quickly. I've never broken up with anyone before. I've been dumped or parted ways mutually, but I summoned up all my courage and called my boyfriend to meet up. To those of you who warned me to be prepared for gaslighting, you were spot on. Thank you for the warning. I told him I was tired of being pimped at home, tired of arguing about whether it was appropriate for him to pimp me at home, and that I'd spent far too much time fighting him over the issue. I told him while the questions were annoying as hell, the fact that I'd repeatedly explained to him that it was stressful for me, yet he continually disagreed that and tried to shame me into doubting myself was the bigger problem, and that his lack of respect for my comfort was a deal breaker. He informed me that, 1, he knew this was coming because I've always been an intellectual snob and his family had warned him about me from day 1. 2, he'd been wanting to dump me for months, but he knew I needed his support throughout med school, so he couldn't leave, because he's a good guy, and he would have felt so bad abandoning me. 3, everyone in medicine either suffers from narcissism, autism, or OCD, so he's glad he doesn't have to interact with me or any of my friends anymore. Oh my god. 4, law school is harder than medical school. Lawyers are smarter than doctors, and he will always be needed, but I'll be replaced soon by Watson. 5, he wishes me luck dying alone and becoming one of those sad, lonely, old lady doctors who has to resort to banging my residents for sexual relief. Wow. My mind is a fucking blown. I went home and cried and threw up. What the fuck piece of shit did I fall in love with? I've never seen that side of him. I'd seen anger, but not that. I don't know, guys. I'm overwhelmed. I really thought when I posted the original question that there'd be more of a debate. Like, Expected some people to say, oh, he's just curious, it's innocent, and expected to find some people be like, tell this dude to shut the fuck up. I was really blown away by all of you being able to identify and verbalize and validate what had been feeling so goddamn confusing and shitty over here. Hasn't been the most productive study day, but I'm going to try and get some work done and at least enjoy the peace and quiet. Too long didn't read, boyfriend way more insecure than I imagined possible. Peaced out. Thanks, Reddit. Okay, full disclosure, this is a problem that I know that I have, but I can confidently state it's not just women, it's everyone. I like arguing with people, and sometimes just my default response is, nuh-uh, and I'm put in a position where I have to validate why I just said nuh-uh to something I agree with it being objective fact. And then I end up going down this bullshit rabbit hole because I just like to argue sometimes, whether it's like my cousins, whether it's like one of my friends, whether it's Wonder, whether it's Click, it just everything is on the table. I don't know why I do this, and as I was reading this, there was a part of me that started sweating, and I was like, oh god, am I sexist? And then I realized, no, I do this to everyone. My bullshit is rated E for everyone, and I don't know if that's worse or if that's better. Probably a mix of both. It is something I am actively working on. I don't know why I do it. It's just part of my brain. I've even done it to my own father. So, I don't know why I do this. It is a problem, but at least I'm not sexist about it. We're an equal opportunity bastard out here. So, my major personality flaw aside that I'm actively working on, it's not sexist, it's equal opportunity. Yeah, what the boyfriend is doing here is bullshit, because her boyfriend 100% has inferiority and is actually intellectually fearful of his partner. And it's because of this that he feels like he has to do little quizzes and all that kind of shit to try and catch her and pretty much be like, oh, see, you don't know everything. Okay, cool. My ego's in check and I can continue on with my day now. Because after all, he was weeded out from the med program, and now he tells himself, being a lawyer is actually a lot harder, and that means I'm better. Even though I'm fully comfortable with arguing they're both pretty fucking difficult fields. But his reaction is just an obvious giveaway that he's pretty uncomfortable with the idea of dating someone who's smarter than him. And it, definitely got under his skin, so he felt like he had to constantly just needle at it to try and find any kind of reason to help his ego out in the slightest. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, of course, Satan is not a pogo stick. The original OP is u/paint content 6734. Posted to r/relationships March 19th, 2025. Help! I, 26 female, think my boyfriend, 30 male, is exaggerating or faking his illness. Saw someone's post yesterday about navigating life with a partner who has fibromyalgia and felt inspired to post here. I'm hoping y'all can give me some solid advice. I, 26 female, have been with my boyfriend, 30 male, for a little under 2 years. In the time we've been together, his chronic pain, which isn't connected to any particular/known condition as he refuses to go to the doctor, has gotten worse and worse. It's reached a point where he's almost incapable of doing chores or house projects, is usually too exhausted/in pain to make or agree to plans, and getting him to do anything outside of the house together is like pulling teeth. His objections always revolve around his pain and fatigue. I've never suffered from chronic pain, and thank God, so I'm not one to judge or accuse someone of making it up, since the pain itself is invisible, and my boyfriend looks perfectly healthy, but he's now been unemployed for about 4 months, and I'm starting to question things. I'm starting to feel doubtful for a number of reasons, and the main ones are that A, he never turns down his friends' invitations to hang out, even when the activity is something physically intense like kayaking, or going hiking, or going to a music festival, and B, he is never too tired/in too much pain to have sex. Over time, it's almost made it seem like he's conveniently in an unbearable amount of pain when he has to do something he isn't that interested in, i.e. chores. And I'm starting to feel hurt that he just doesn't seem to want to hang out with me outside of what we do, lazing around the house. I've never accused him of faking or exaggerating his pain, but I have tried to talk to him about doing more fun stuff together, and it always circles back to his pain or Him accusing me of trying to keep him from spending time with his friends, which I'm not trying to do by any means. I've done a ton of research into autoimmune disorders and other conditions that could be causing his problem, always bringing my findings and suggestions to him, but he just doesn't believe a doctor or any traditional medicine will help him. I'm also bothered because when we go to family outings or parties that we're both invited to, it's rare but it does happen, he will talk to anyone who will listen's ear off about how bad his chronic pain is and how frustrating it is to not be able to find a solution. The thing is, he's not actually looking for a solution. He just smokes weed every day and calls that good enough while lamenting and complaining that his body is the way that it is. He also refuses to return to work because of his pain. For additional context, he seems to have really extreme muscle spasms/tightness, particularly in his back. I'm happy to support him through hard times, but the fact that he won't work is getting concerning, and I feel severely stuck. I'm not interested in supporting him financially on a long-standing basis, but at the moment, I partially am by covering some of his expenses. If this post makes me a total asshole for questioning the degree of my boyfriend's chronic pain, so be it. I just need help and answers. So here are my questions. Where do I go from here? Do you think it's possible that my boyfriend is using his pain as a crutch? Should I put some kind of ultimatum in place that will get him medical care/attention? Your advice is appreciated. Too long didn't read. My 26 female, boyfriend's 30 male, chronic pain is highly questionable, and I'm not sure how I can motivate him to get better. I'm worried I may just be getting taken advantage of at this point. Top comment, Watermelon Sugar 47. Even if he does have chronic illness, he isn't doing anything to get a diagnosis or treatment, and he's willing to push on for things that benefit him and him only. He's also developed a drug addiction he has no plans of curbing. I'm chronically ill. I'm busting my ass off trying to find answers and help because living like this sucks. I do everything in my power to support my partner and care for our home. Well, sometimes that's not a ton. I always prioritize contributing to my household over kayaking, which even if I could push through to do, would put me down for a week. This man is using and taking advantage of you, disabled or not. He also has dumped this on you without you consenting to be his financial caretaker. You're not married. There is no in sickness and health here. Leave him. Update, March 21st, 2025. Thank you to everyone who responded to my post and was so compassionate and kind. It was incredible to hear from so many people who actively battle chronic pain/illness and those with loved ones who do. I hope to continue deepening my empathy towards anyone who is struggling with an invisible illness. On to my update. Armed with some fresh perspectives and some fresh frustrations, lol, I talked to my boyfriend and told him that he needs to see a doctor or I will no longer be able to support him financially and stand by while he remains unemployed and unmotivated to get the help he needs. I also addressed the idea of managing/balancing his energy levels differently so that we're able to share household responsibilities more effectively, spend quality time together, and keep him doing the things he loves with his friends. His response was really bad. He told me that if I'm not willing to step up and clean around the house, something I'm already doing, that there's no use living together, and that my efforts to clean are the bare minimum and not good enough for his standards anyway. He was also really mad that I haven't taken initiative to take care of yard projects and car repairs. He sat there and spouted off a whole list of things I'm not noticing and cleaning. And once again, he was focused on this idea that I don't like his friends/am jealous of them and want him spending less time with them, which isn't true at all. This really stung. He basically brushed over everything I said and focused on my perceived faults. This told me everything I needed to know, and I told him I was leaving. He was just mad, not sad or hurt at all. I'm still crying excessively over his whole reaction. I still don't know how real or unreal his chronic pain is, but I guess it doesn't matter anymore. Thank you again, everyone, for your support and kindness. I'm truly at a loss. Too long didn't read. My 26 female, boyfriend, 30 male of almost 2 years, and I have separated over his inability to address his chronic pain. While I also can't speak on whether or not OP's boyfriend or ex-boyfriend was in fact faking it, there's definitely a lot of behaviors that certainly raise an eyebrow. Now, this could either be a sign of him faking his illness, or it could just be the sign that he's just a horrible fucking partner. But him doing extremely physically intensive activities, but unwilling to do anything with his girlfriend at all, and him putting all of their essentially adulting responsibilities onto her shoulders, really kind of tells you what kind of person OP is. If he's faking his illness, well, he's faking his illness. But if he does have enough energy to go do kayaking and stuff like that every now and then, but isn't willing to reserve any of that energy to help his girlfriend out, that sucks. Like, there's no way around it. Like, he is allowed to go do kayaking if his body permits it, but he should also be prioritizing things within the relationship that will help him and his partner actually lead a healthy life. But he's unwilling to do that. He's also unwilling to go seek any kind of professional diagnoses or any kind of help, and claims he's actively looking for it, but as OP has shown, he's made no effort to do so. OP also stated that it has only been getting worse with time. And yeah, that can happen. But if it's getting worse and worse and the symptoms are becoming more and more severe, but OP isn't willing to even attempt to seek out any kind of medical diagnoses or medical explanation for what the hell is going on, especially with him not actively seeking solutions, is actively harming his partner and making their life worse, it's just not okay. Like, that's not even beginning to like approach the reaction that he had of her stating like, hey, the situation that we're in right now with you not actively seeking out any kind of help, it's actively harming me. So let's try to find solutions to make this more amicable for both of us. With that then turning into him snapping and listing off every little thing that she's doing wrong and how she needs to step up more around the house. That's not okay. I'll leave it up to you guys in the audience of whether or not he's faking it or not. I'm just going to be approaching this with the situation of he has chronic pain, but he's mistreating his partner. Or ex-partner for that matter. Like, I can't even imagine being in a situation where a partner essentially tells me that they feel like they're in a one-sided relationship and they need to spend quality time together, and they still want to make time for me to do things with my friends, but they want to properly manage and balance our energy levels to make sure that it's an equal partnership and a relationship. I can't imagine turning around and telling my partner, no, you need to step up more around the house and go do the yard work that you've been neglecting. Like, I'm sure that reaction probably pissed off a lot of people in my audience. Hey, welcome to the outro. Don't forget this whole thing is basically brought to you by GamerSupps. If you like caffeine, then I can't recommend GamerSupps enough. Use code Oz at checkout to support the channel. And I do actually use this product. It's replaced all other sources of caffeine for me because I feel good. It doesn't have any of that extra stuff that a pre-workout blend might have. It's with a couple of the extra things to make it so you don't crash as hard. It's good. I like it. Personally, if you really want a good flavor, try the Soda Pressing Pear or even the Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are my personal favorites right now.